we told you. We told you that this right here would eventually happen. Now, guys, I came across this article from the Daily Mail in my Facebook feed. I read it. I read it twice because it was actually a very short article. I couldn't believe exactly how short it was. And, of course, I will be leaving it in the description box. But let me go ahead and kind of paraphrase what's going on here. So, allegedly, OnlyFans girls, like we said would, of course, happen, are having an issue with their love lives, meaning that the boyfriends and husbands that they have are not exactly trustworthy and are looking to get out of the relationship, kicking them to the curb. Also, to go on top of that, the ones that are single, of course, once again, as I've talked about a few times on the channel, are having a hard time getting dates. Now, I'm going to be explaining why this more than likely is the case in this video, and I'm also going to be showing you guys the actual real numbers of what these OnlyFans girls make. Also, something else too, my stance still remains that if you're paying $5 to $10 a month on a girl that, quite frankly, you're never going to meet, that you have to look at online, that means that you are probably pretty well pathetic. Talking about the dudes here, I'm not talking about the girls here, but don't worry, I'll talk about why this is the case, why it is you ladies can't find a date, or why it is that men are suddenly kicking you guys to the curb. I'll be talking about that shortly, but I'm also going to be kind of detailing you guys what I think is probably going to happen in the future as a result of this. And there's even going to be a nice little clip here to kind of help explain and kind of convey everything that I'm saying. So we'll just make sure you guys stick around for the whole video. So one of the main reasons that these girls are complaining is because obviously there's a trust factor. Well, let me go ahead and say this. If you are a man and you got involved with a girl, even if she's completely upfront with you about her work, don't you think that after a while this right here would get to you? My girl takes her clothes off for a living. She does it online. She posts it online. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry gets to see her butt. They get to see her vag. They get to see her breast. Don't you think that after a while that right there would get to you? I mean, I understand that there are some men out there that would be completely desensitized to it. I do know some men, especially dudes that I serve with, and dudes I obviously have worked with who did get married to ladies who at one point in time did do sex work. They, for whatever reason, they seemed to be okay with it at the time, but after a while they began to resent it. Now, there's multiple reasons why that is the case. Obviously, some people can be open-minded. Now, me personally, I'm not into girls who do sex work. I think that would be kind of weird to know that my wife or my girlfriend goes out there and takes her clothes off every night, or in fact takes her clothes off at home and then posts pictures to it online. I mean, I understand that there are people paying for it, but once you see these numbers, I'm pretty sure you guys are probably going to get a little bit more weirded out, and you're probably going to say to yourself, you know, maybe dating an OnlyFans girl is not such a good idea. Now, guys, really quick, before we get to these numbers, let me tell you guys a quick little story. There was a nice little Facebook video that came across my screen about, I'd say it was right there before 2020. And it was a parody of a guy meeting his girlfriend's father. And, of course, he was asking what he does, and the guy basically told him what he does. He actually lied to him, and apparently what he was doing was he was pimping this guy's daughter out to make thousands of dollars a month on OnlyFans. Of course, it ends with the boyfriend getting his butt stomped by the daddy. Of course, like I said, it was a complete parody. However, here's the real truth. Most of these girls are not making the kind of money that you think they are making. You see, some dudes may get into this and think, oh, man, I could pimp my hot girlfriend out for the next 2 or 3 years and make maybe 6 figures, maybe 7 figures, maybe 8 figures. Well, when she makes that money, after a while, she's going to figure out that you, quite frankly, aren't any use to her anymore. You're no good. You can't really provide anything for her. It was her body, so therefore she's the one who made the money. But as I'll explain here in a second, this is obviously not always the case. You see, this is one of the many problems that you could have if you get involved with someone who does sex work. Now, I understand that there are some reasons in some cases where, well, let's just say that we'll save the whole I had to put food on the table argument for another day. Now, I could always bring up the Kevin Samuels bit where he basically said that you ladies are taking advantage of a bubble economy. I could always do that. But then again, though, at the same time, Fresh and Fit, they copyright the literal hell out of everything. And since Kevin Samuels is dead, they just may copyright the hell out of that as well if I decide to put it in here. So I'm not going to be doing that. But he wasn't lying. You're taking advantage of a bubble economy. However, it's only the top 1% that are actually making any money off this. Now, guys, I'm showing you bits from an article, actual statistics, and don't worry, I'll have that clip here in a second to kind of clamp down on what I'm saying, on exactly the amount of money that these girls are actually making. The average OnlyFans girl only makes right around $145 a month. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, those right there must be the girls who do the foot fetishes. Those right there must be the girls that do the cooking. I hate to tell you this, but that's not the case. A lot of these right here are girls who are just straight up throwing stuff online thinking that the skin will sell. not every single situation is going to get you any money, okay? Also, to go on top of that, like I said before, it's a bubble economy. It's a very, very short amount, let's just say it's a short amount of time where you actually make some money. What if you throw your clothes off and you put yourself online, take pictures, take photos, regardless of how high tech you want to set it up? What if your overall monthly income is only about $500 a month? That's not nothing. That's like a car payment in some cases. And with inflation, it's obviously going to be a lot less. You haven't actually factored this stuff in. Also, something else too. Let's just say you make $2,500 a month. Well, exactly how much are you really and truly, how well off are you? What if you're making $2,500 a month off of Onlyfans, but yet you're only making $1,800 a month at your job? Are you really and truly making any money? No, you're not. And as I said before, only the very, very top 1%, as you guys saw right there, are the only ones who are making any money. By the way, whether these girls know it or not, they're actually interchangeable. The reason why they're interchangeable is because as they get older, their value goes down. Then the next girl comes in, and then she'll make some money. It's extremely rare for any individual to actually make a lot of money on this site. Also, something else too, there's also another thing that you ladies have to understand. Let's say that this whole OnlyFans thing, let's just say it was only big for about maybe 3 years. Maybe in 2022, when the economy got a lot worse, something that you guys were not anticipating, maybe a lot of men just got tired of it and began to pull the plug. That there being the much, much more loyal men, the actual simps, who after a while just said, you know what, I'm getting tired of simping. I got to choose whether I can pay for gas or I could pay for food, or can I honestly choose at this moment in time between food, between gas, between living, between standards like that, the things that are actually important, or should I be looking at, I don't know, some girl's butt who probably is only making about maybe $150 a month? Part of that, by the way, is mine because I'm giving her $5. I mean, did you actually think about that? Did you actually think about it? Because also you got to understand something else too. OnlyFans has their own little cut, so therefore they're already taking a good amount of money away from you. But if you don't believe me, I'll let another girl explain it to you.
Despite what the media might try to convince people of by only focusing on the small percentage of people who are actually successful on the site. And to explain what I mean, here's this article from EV Magazine titled, "No, You Won't Get Rich Quick on OnlyFans, The Math Behind the Fool's Gold Rush." Because you see, quote, making about $2,500 a month on OnlyFans puts you in the top 1% of OnlyFans creators. And that might sound like a lot, but it adds up to about $15 an hour, and that's all pre-tax. In other words, you could make the same amount working at Chipotle, and OnlyFans doesn't even have guac. And I know some of you might be thinking, hey, $2,500 a month, that's quite a lot of money. And you're right, it is. That's not bad money. But is it worth selling yourself online, essentially becoming a prostitute just for the same amount of money that, again, you could make working at Chipotle or any other number of companies that pay $15 an hour? Like, obviously, there should be no amount of money that's worth it for you to degrade yourself by selling photos of yourself naked online. But it's like, if you're going to do it, I would assume it should at least be for more than what you could make at Chipotle. You're worth more than that, ladies. You're worth more than $15 an hour. And again, that's only if you're in the top 1%. And just to put it into perspective, how unlikely it is for you to get into the top 1% of OnlyFans creators, this article explains that it's more likely that a college football player makes it to the NFL than it is for an OnlyFans worker to make as much as a Chipotle worker. OnlyFans as a platform has more than 1 million registered content creators. So what do most of them earn? On average, only $180 a month. And here's the thing, since famous creators like Tara Lynn are pulling up that average, most creators are making a lot less.
So basically what Lauren Chen is saying right there is that, yeah, you're throwing your body out there, you're throwing your dignity out there for a very, very low amount of money, and you wonder why it is that you're having relationship issues. Now, guys, this article from the Daily Mail, I could read out loud for you. It's not a very long article, but it's enough to kind of paraphrase, where I can actually paraphrase what it says, and don't worry, I'll leave it in the description box for you guys. The thing is this right here. You got someone who is a veteran of the porn industry, someone who's actually on Pornhub. This girl is talking about why it is that it's different having sex on camera versus having sex with their actual partner, which I also still think is kind of weird, especially if you're a man who's about to screw a girl who screws on film for a living. You probably would think to yourself, am I ever going to be as good as the dude that she doles it out for the actual money itself? See, a lot of things, of course, go into that dynamic if you're dating someone who does sex work for a living. Fact of the matter is that your self-conscious will, in fact, get the better of you in some of these situations. Girls, of course, they're very, very good at picking up on this. So you got to ask yourself a question as a man. Do I want to date someone who does sex work for a living? Also, something else too. Ladies, do you want to do sex work for a living if you're only getting paid $150 to $200 a month? Do you want to do that? I'm pretty sure a lot of you came out there and said, you know what? I'm going to make a lot of money because I'm a hot, sweet Tatiana, and I'm going to make a crap load of money. I'm going to make thousands of dollars a month. Of course, those who do make thousands of dollars a month then turn right back right and spend all that money on cars and a house, this, that, and of course, they don't pay for it fully. They just put down enough money to then make payments, thinking that their credit is good enough, thinking that because they're so hot that money is going to be constantly flowing to them. They don't seem to realize that their credit report's eventually shot when they find out they ain't got no money and they can't pay the bills on this extremely expensive vehicle or extremely expensive home. Fact of the matter is that the minute you start doing that, it's like Kevin Samuel said, you are simply taking advantage of a bubble economy, and as you get older, guess what happens? Your value goes down. When your value goes down, less dudes will be watching. Less dudes watching means you got to increase your rate. So that means the ones that are paying, after a while, they get wise and say, you know what, I don't want to pay for this crap no more. And next thing you know, you're basically in the poorhouse because your ass is now broke. Fact is, you ladies were sold a great big giant hill of beans, and as a result of this, your relationships are suffering. Men now see that there are trust issues. They are now seeing that the money that you're bringing in is not exactly what the hell you were told you were going to be bringing in. Also, something else too, what do people normally do when they get high amounts of money like that, especially if they're under the age of 25, which, by the way, would more than likely be the time frame of which a woman would make the most amount of money. Me personally, I believe that right there is probably when they're going to make the most amount of money on OnlyFans is going to be between the ages of what? Maybe 20 to like 25. College to like mid-20s. After about 25 or 26, guess what? Your value goes completely down. It's just the way that it is. I mean, unless you're some form of a hot actress or maybe someone on Pornhub, you're really and truly not going to make a whole lot of money beyond a certain age. As a matter of fact, as I've said before, I would advise you not do this. I would advise you not take your clothes off for money. But the fact of the matter is that what you're doing, you're actually not only selling your dignity, but you're also selling your dignity for what? Chicken feed? Nothing? I mean, you're not even making enough money to pay for 2 full tanks of gasoline. And let's also not forget, when you actually get to the meat of that article, which I'm going to go ahead and discuss the last section of right now, what happens to the actual relationships themselves? Do men, after a while, get comfortable sleeping with a girl who is obviously throwing her stuff out there on camera? After a while, does it get annoying? Does it create trust issues? Obviously, it's doing that. Does it also create this issue of, I don't know, maybe I can do a little bit better? Does that kind of creep up in his mind? As I said before, ladies, the amount of money that you make, the highest amount of money you make it very, very fast. A lot of these girls, by the way, are also spending this money on extremely expensive cars, extremely expensive homes. They don't even pay for the full product itself because they may make anywhere between maybe $7,000 to $15,000 a month, and they got to buy all the other crap that they have to do. Not to mention the fact that you have to buy clothes, certain types of lingerie, certain types of outfits to kind of bring in the dough, because obviously color does matter. And I mean color, of course, meaning the lingerie itself, the actual color of what you wear. Some men have their eyes adjusted to certain type of color. Some men prefer the color red on a girl more so than they would the color white. It also depends on your actual skin tone. That type of thing there. Those type of things do actually matter. I understand this very, very well. Now, let me also say this, and I'll tell you right now how I understand it, because I actually, believe it or not, worked at a strip club as a bouncer for a little bit. Just figure I'd just go ahead and throw that out there. Long back in the day, back in the day. But the thing is this right here. You got to spend that money to make money. And then next thing you know, the money that you're making is not exactly the money that you thought you'd be bringing in. Fact of the matter is that you're stripping away your dignity for not even peanuts. You're basically selling yourself out for a lot less money than you thought you would. And to go on top of that, let's just go ahead and say that you did make a bunch of money. And let's just say that you wanted that $75,000 Ford Mustang Celine model, and you put $15,000 down. Next thing you know, you're only getting about maybe $3,000 a month, and you've got this place to live in, and you got to pay for your lights, you got to pay for your water, you got to pay for your food. Next thing you know, you can't make that high car payment. So guess what happens? Now you got to sell that vehicle. And guess what? You're going to get a lot less back because you owe a lot of money on it. You're probably not even going to get anything back. Same thing with a house. Fact of the matter is that you make this money in a bubble, and next thing you know, after a couple of years when your value is gone, guess what else happens? Everything that you own is also gone. You see, men are starting to wake up to this. Men are starting to see this. They're starting to actually get smart. And this right here is going to create another conundrum. And here is that conundrum. Here is that problem. And let me say this, okay, because a lot of people are not thinking about this. There's a project that I've been working on for a while that I keep putting down. I add something to it every chance I get. I'm having a hard time scripting it because, quite frankly, I'm having a hard time explaining it. This is incoming crisis that we have with men. Right now, you have 2/3 of men out there that are single, whereas only about 1/3 of women are single. Of course, this right is the age of 18 to 30. And mark my words on this, because this right here will eventually come true. A lot of these men are going to find themselves soon, especially in this economy, with no jobs, which, by the way, is also another reason why it is a lot of these men are starting to pull the plug on Onlyfans, especially these single ones. Also, the ones who are in relationships that are not married, that don't want to get caught with this type of crap. After a while, they're just going to start pulling the plug. The thing is this right here. A lot of these men could find themselves in situations that are not financially stable, meaning that they may not be able to make any money. So between the ages of 18 and 30, and you find out you can't use your college degree to get that job you want, next thing you know, you're out of work or you can't find no stable employment. So what the hell happens in a very bad economy? Especially given the amount of inflation we have, we're looking at a bust here real soon. We're looking at the crash, something worse than 2008. What do you think happens? A lot of these men are going to get pissed off, and you know what they're going to do? They're going to look for a stable job. So what are they going to do? They're probably going to join the military, try to go work a government job if they can get it. Next thing you know, they're not going to be around. So that leaves a lot of women who, by the way, like I said, only about 1/3 of women out there are actually single. Well, what happens to the women who are actually who are single? Well, next thing you know, they don't have no men in their age range. They don't have no men who can take care of them. So what the hell do they eventually do? They eventually start looking for men who, quite frankly, have some form of security. Well, how old are those men? Probably 35, 40, 45, maybe even 50. You see, what's going to end up happening is that a lot more older dudes are going to start marrying a lot more younger women. Those guys who've just now got their life put together or are getting their life together, they're suddenly going to end up with much, much younger girls, which is going to create an imbalance in the actual dating gap. Or it's going to create a big, giant gap, a great big, giant imbalance in dating ages. This right here is also a problem, especially for men. And by the way, if you're in that age range that I said, in which you would probably get a woman of that age, I want you to know right now, this is not always a good thing. You better make sure that that girl that you're getting married to, that girl that you meet, that 28-year-old girl that's kind of hot, who may have been an OnlyFans model, who, by the way, will hide that little portion about her life when you meet with her, because you'll go into it with full open arms. This is the first time in my life I've ever had a perfect freaking 10, when in reality she's probably an 8 or an 8.5, and without makeup she could be a 7. Fact of the matter is, you're going to be going in this with open arms, and you're not going to ask about her past. Next thing you know, you got a girl, you're 41, you're 42 years old, and you're with this 27-year-old girl, and you don't realize that she used to do OnlyFans. She used to make a little bit of money, and now that little bit of security that she thought she was going to have is gone. She's going to be looking at you more for security than she will be love, which could also create another problem called infidelity. You never know. Just figure I'd go ahead and throw that out there. Guys, John Claymore, if you like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section. I would love to get you guys' thoughts on this, and I'll see you guys later.